On the seventh and last day of the February 97 retreat in Springwater, we will do as we usually do on the last day of a retreat, read from authors, sages who lived long ago, contemporary ones and poets, not really to present these authors, but to let their words illuminate inwardly what is in their words. First selections will be from the teaching of Huang Po, a Chinese Zen teacher who lived about 1,000 years ago. His words were written down by his disciple, who was the governor of the province and a Buddhist scholar. Sentences or paragraphs, or at times words, have been left out for greater clarity. The word Buddha does not just refer to the historical personage, but to an enlightened being and the openness of our true self. The Master said to me, all the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind, beside which nothing exists. This mind, which is without beginning, is unborn and indestructible. It is not green nor yellow and has neither form nor appearance. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of new or old. It is neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it, and you at once fall into error. It is like the boundless void which cannot be fathomed or measured. The one mind alone is the Buddha, and there is no distinction between the Buddha and sentient beings, sentient things, he says. But that sentient beings are attached to forms and so seek externally for Buddhahood. By their very seeking, they lose it. For that is using the Buddha to seek for the Buddha, using mind to grasp mind. Even though they do their utmost for a full eon, they will not be able to attain to it. People do not know that if they put a stop to conceptual thought and forget their anxiety, the Buddha will appear before them. For this mind is the Buddha, and Buddha is all living beings. It is not the less for being manifested in ordinary beings, nor is it greater for being manifested in the Buddhas. Mind is like the void in which there is no confusion or evil. As when the sun wheels through it, shining upon the four corners of the world. For when the sun rises and illuminates the whole earth, the void gains not in brilliance. And when the sun sets, the void does not darken. The phenomena of light and dark alternate with each other. but the nature of the void remains unchanged. This is just a little excerpt in the midst of a dialogue. We can't read the whole thing. But it is on transmission. There's interest in some people and in traditions about transmission. So this is what Wang Po has to say about it. Questioner: if there is nothing on which to lay hold, how is the Dharma or the teaching to be transmitted? Wang Po: it is transmission of mind with mind. Questioner: if mind is used for transmission, why do you say that the mind too does not exist? He has said this previously, negating everything, including mind, Buddhas. If mind is used for transmission, the questioner asks now, why do you say that mind too does not exist? Wang Po: obtaining no teaching whatever is called mind transmission. The understanding of this mind implies no mind and no teaching. Question: if there's no mind and no teaching, what is meant by transmission? Wang Po: you hear people speak of mind transmission, and then you talk of something to be received. So Bodhidharma said, it's an ancient wise man, came from India. So Bodhidharma said, the nature of the mind when understood, no human speech can compass or disclose. Enlightenment is not to be attained, and he that gains it does not say he knows. If I were able to make this clear to you, I doubt if you could stand up to it. So, full understanding can come to you only through an inexpressible mystery. The approach to it is called the gateway of the stillness beyond all activity. If you wish to understand, know that a sudden comprehension comes when the mind is purged of all the clutter of conceptual and discriminatory thought activity. Those who seek the truth by means of intellect and learning only get further and further away from it. Not till your thoughts cease all their branching here and there, not till you abandon all thoughts of seeking for something, will you be able to be on the right road. Question says, at this very moment, all thoughts of erroneous thoughts are constantly flowing through our minds. How can you speak of our not having, of our having none? Wang Po: error has no substance. It is entirely the product of your own thinking. If you see that mind is the Buddha and mind is fundamentally without error, whenever thoughts arise, you will be fully convinced that they are responsible for errors. If you could prevent all conceptual movement of thought and still your thinking processes, naturally there would be no error left in you. Therefore it is said, when thoughts arise, then do all things arise. When thoughts vanish, then do all things vanish. Though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception, sudden as blinking, that subject and object are one, will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And by this understanding, you awake to the truth. Your true nature is something never lost to you, even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute, absolute meaning, dependent on nothing. Ah, it is a jewel beyond all price. When a sudden flash of thought occurs in your mind and you see it for a dream or an illusion, then you can enter into the state reached by the Buddhas of the past. Not that the Buddhas of the past really exist, or that the Buddhas of the future have not yet come into existence. Above all, have no longing to become a future Buddha. Your sole concern should be, as thought succeeds thought, to avoid clinging to any of them. Selection from Nisargadatta. Selection from I Am That by Nisargadatta, contemporary Indian sage, died in the early 80s. He was of the Advaita sect of Hinduism. Advaita means not two, non-dualism. In his language, the self means the whole, what Wang Po calls the mind with a capital M. Nisargadatta calls the self, capital S. Translated by Maurice Friedman. Questioner. Maharaj, you are sitting in front of me, and I'm here at your feet. What is the basic difference between us? Nisargadatta, there is no basic difference. Questioner, still there must be some real difference. I come to you, you do not come to me. Nisargadatta, because you imagine differences, you go here and there in search of superior people. Questioner, you too are a superior person. You claim to know the real while I do not. Nisargadatta, did I ever tell you that you do not know and therefore you are inferior? Let those who invented such distinctions prove them. I do not claim to know what you do not. In fact, I know much less than you do. Questioner, your words are wise, your behavior noble, and your grace all-powerful. Nisargadatta, I know nothing about it all and see no difference between you and me. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and move along with them. Questioner, what made you so dispassionate? Nisargadatta, nothing in particular. It so happened that I trusted my guru. He told me I am nothing but myself, and I believed him. Trusting him, I behaved accordingly and ceased caring for what was not me nor mine. Krishna, why were you lucky to trust your teacher fully while our trust is so nominal and verbal? Nisargadatta, who can say? It happened so. Things happen without cause and reason, and after all, what does it matter who is who? Your high opinion of me is your opinion only. Any moment you may change it. Why attach importance to opinions, even your own? Questioner, still you are different. Your mind seems to be always quiet and happy, and miracles happen around you. Nisargadatta, I know nothing about miracles, and I wonder whether nature admits exceptions to her laws, unless we agree that everything is a miracle. As to my mind, there is no such thing. There is consciousness in which everything happens. It is quite obvious and within the experience of everybody. You just do not look carefully enough. Look well and see what I see. Questioner, what do you see? Nisargadatta, I see what you too could see here and now, but for the wrong focus of your attention. You give no attention to yourself. Your mind is all with things, with people, and with ideas, never with yourself. Bring yourself into focus, become aware of your own existence. See how you function. Watch the motives and the results of your actions. Study the prison you have built around yourself by inadvertence. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. One thing is certain, the real is not imaginary. It is not a product of the mind. Once you are convinced that you cannot say truthfully about yourself anything except I am, and that nothing that can be pointed at can be yourself, you're no longer intent on verbalizing what you are. All definitions apply to your body only and to its expressions. Once this obsession with the body goes, you will revert to your natural state spontaneously and effortlessly. The only difference between us is that I am aware of my natural state while you are bemused. Just like gold made into ornaments has no advantage over gold dust, except when the mind makes it so, so are we one in being. We differ only in appearances. We discover this by being earnest, by searching, inquiring, questioning daily and hourly, by giving one's life to this discovery. Two selections by Krishnamurti from The Meditative Mind, a selection of passages from different writings of his. This one is from The Flame of Attention. It is immensely important to know and to understand the depth and beauty of meditation. Man has always been asking from timeless time whether there is something beyond all thought, beyond all romantic inventions, beyond all time. He's always been asking, Is there something beyond all this suffering, beyond all this chaos, beyond wars, beyond the battle between human beings? Is there something that is immovable, sacred, utterly pure, untouched by any thought, by any experience? This has been the inquiry of serious people from the ancient of days. To find that out, to come upon it, meditation is necessary. Not the repetitive meditation that is utterly meaningless. There is a creative energy which is truly religious when the mind is free from all conflict, from all the travail of thought. To come upon that which has no beginning, no end, that is the real depth of meditation and the beauty of it. That requires freedom from conditioning. There is complete security in compassionate intelligence, total security. But we want security in ideas, in beliefs, in people, in concepts, in ideals. We hold on to them. They are our security, however false, however irrational. Where there is compassion with its supreme intelligence, there is security if one is seeking security. Actually, when there is compassion, where there is that intelligence, there is no question of security. So there is an origin, an original ground from which all things arise. And that original ground is not the word. The word is never the thing. And meditation is to come upon that ground which is the origin of all things and which is free from all time. Here's a selection from the Beginnings of Learning, which is taken from a talk to students, high school students at Brockwood Park in England. Kids. When you sit very quietly or lie down very quietly, the body is completely relaxed, isn't it? Have you ever tried to sit very, very quietly? Not to force it, because the moment you force it, it is finished. To sit very quietly, either with your eyes closed or open. If you have your eyes open, there's a little more distraction. You begin to see things. So after looking at things, the curve of the tree, the leaves, the bushes, after looking at it all with care, then close your eyes. Then you will not say to yourself, what's happening? Let me look. First look at everything, the furniture, the color of the chair, the color of the sweater. Look at the shape of the tree. After having looked, the desire to look is less. I've seen that blue sky, I've finished with it, and I won't look again. But you must first look, then you can sit quietly. When you sit quietly or lie down very quietly, the blood flows easily into your head, doesn't it? There's no strain. That's why they say you must sit cross-legged with head very straight, because the blood flows easier that way. If you sit crouched, it's more difficult for the blood to get into your head. So you sit or lie down very, very quietly. Don't force it. Don't fidget. If you fidget, then watch it. Don't say, I must not. Then, when you sit very quietly, you watch your mind. First, you watch the mind. Don't correct it. Don't say, this is good, that thought is not good. Just watch it. Then you will see that there is a watcher and the watched. There is a division. The moment there is a division, there is conflict. Now, can you watch without the watcher? Is there a watching without the watcher? It is the watcher that says, this is good and that is bad. This I like and that I don't. Or I wish she hadn't said this or that. I wish I had more food. To watch without a watcher, try it sometime. It's part of meditation. Just begin with that. That's good enough. And you will see, if you have done it, what an extraordinary thing takes place. Your body becomes very, very intelligent. Now the body is not intelligent because we have spoiled it. Do you understand what I mean? We have destroyed the natural intelligence of the body itself. Then you will find that the body says, go to bed at the right time. It wants it. It has its own intelligence and activity. And also, if it wants to be lazy, let it be lazy. A selection from Being and Becoming by Vimalataka, an Indian woman who used to travel worldwide. Now she stays in India. 2 locations, people come to her. This book gives some of the dialogues which took place at Dalhousie during the summer of 1989. We are talking about an alternative way of living, which is a meditative way of living. Acquire knowledge, let it flow through you, let it be utilized in its relevant field without creating a knower. If we look at the roots of all human misery, we will find that misery is built upon our stupidity. I always find that stupefaction would be a better word. Stupidity implies a judgment, but I'm not sure it was meant that way. Probably not. We do not know how to realize how to relate to the social structures and use them without identification, without creating a sense of authority out of them. Structures are not sacred. It is only life that is sacred. Patterns have no sacredness, whether you create them in the name of religion, spirituality, or politics. It is the pattern-free, structure-free, virgin dynamism of life that is sacred, that is divine. Wherever you have touched it with thought, you have manipulated it, you have structured it. It has a utility, but not sanctity. It has a utility, but no authority. Knowledge itself has no power to bind you. It is the creation of the knower that is the obstacle, me, the knower. You have a beautiful, sensitive body, and the sensitivity gets into touch with its respective objects outside, and they bring sensations. Sensations are converted back to electric impulses, and the brain interprets them. It's a marvelous process of what we call experiencing contact with the outside world through the senses, which are very delicate, very tender. It is quite hard and arduous work to keep your sensual system pure, healthy, supple, and elastic. Let the experiences flow through the sensual system. Nothing wrong in a sensual, sexual experience, but you create an experiencer and you get stuck in the experience, and its likes and dislikes, its value structures, preferences, prejudices. If the sensual contact with objects is allowed to flow through you without creating an experience or experiencer, then the oneness of life manifesting itself into manyness, does not get corrupted, does not lose its vitality, does not get mutilated. In the same way, you acquire knowledge and you appear as an individual playing the role of a father, of a brother, of a son. You are one appearing as many. There's no identification with the fatherness, with the sonness, the daughterness, or the sisterness. And you don't tie so many knots inside, but play the roles sanely, completely, with the magnificence of inner equipoise. Then you're appearing as many, functioning as many, and you're acquiring the knowledge of structures shall not corrupt you. You see what a marvelous responsibility we as human beings have? When there is no knower and no experiencer, there would be no dogmatism. You don't become dogmatic, insistent, assertive, aggressive. Identification is the source of aggression. Verbal aggression is the beginning of physical violence. The word meditation has been identified with psychophysical exercises, concentrations, methods, techniques, kundalini, shakti paths. The word has been abused and misused. No authority and no effort. Freedom from authority and freedom from the struggle of efforts. Once you know that these human-made enclosures are only to be lived in, then the sense of comparing yourself with others, he has a palace and I have a hut, he has millions and I only have thousands, these are rupees. The sense of comparison and the ambition for competition disappears. Your economic life becomes simple. No vanity, no pride about your scholarship, erudition, and so forth. Your social life becomes simple. You do not move around with a begging bowl for sympathy, acceptance, prestige, acknowledgement. Reconciled to the limitations, to the enclosures, you live and move in it. Can you see with me that effortlessness is the content of silence? Silence is not only sitting still, it is a way of living. Meditation has no repetition at all. It is moment to moment. In a moment of relating, you are living. In a moment of aloneness, you are dying. It is living and dying, like inhaling and exhaling. To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody or being something. Is not that the content of death and dying? To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody, sinner, saint, holy, knowledgeable, respected, rich, poor, and so forth. To be alone is to die to being something according to the definition of society, according to the value structure of religions. Physically isolating yourself may not lead you to the aloneness. It may not. That is what we're afraid of, dying to the sense of being somebody. Dying to all the images you have built up about yourself is being alone. The way we're tackling the theme may be unusual, unheard of to many. It is a non-conventional way, a non-traditional approach. But I'm really grateful that life brings you and me together. few selections from The Enlightened Heart, edited by Stephen Mitchell. Two short poems by Rumi. Haven't heard of Rumi, let's get the dates. 1207 to 1273. I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. And we'll move on to Ryokan. Selections from One Robe, One Bowl, a Japanese hermit monk, born 1758. In all 10 directions of the universe, there's only one truth. When we see clearly, the great teachings are the same. What can ever be lost? What can be attained? If we attain something, it was there from the beginning of time. If we lose something, it is hiding somewhere near us. Look, this ball in my pocket. Can you see how priceless it is? He always played ball with the kids when winter was over, so we'll jump and go to the first day of spring. First days of spring. First days of spring, the sky is bright blue, the sun huge and warm, everything's turning green. Carrying my monk's bowl, I walk to the village to beg for my daily meal. The children spot me at the temple gate and happily crowd around, dragging at my arms till I stop. I put my bowl on a white rock, hang my bag on a branch. First we braid grasses and play tug of war. Then we take turns singing and keeping a kickball in the air. That's this priceless thing. Keeping a kickball in the air. I kick the ball and they sing. They kick and I sing. Time is forgotten, the hours fly. People passing by point at me and laugh. Why are you acting like such a fool? I nod my head and don't answer. I could say something, but why? Do you want to know what's in my heart? From the beginning of time, just this, just this. Fresh morning snow in front of the shrine. The trees. Are they white with peach blossoms or white with snow? The children and I joyfully throw snowballs. Another year lingers to an end. Heaven sends a bitter frost. Fallen leaves cover the mountains, and there are no travelers to cast shadows on the path. Endless night. Dried leaves burn slowly in the hearth. Occasionally the sound of freezing rain. Dizzy, I try to recall the past. Nothing here but dreams. An evening dream. Everything must have been an illusion. I cannot explain clearly even one part of what I saw. Yet in the dream, it seemed as if the truth were in front of my eyes. This morning, awake, is it not the same dream? Wind and snow, then snow and rain. Tonight, awakened by the cry of a wild goose in the dark, endless winter sky. Lying in my freezing hut, unable to sleep. Only the quiet roar of water pouring over a cliff. I lie down near the hearth and stretch out my feet to the fire, but still the cold pierces my belly. No begging in town again today. The snow falls and falls. Late at night, the snow is piling higher and higher, muffling the sound of the waterfall. The freezing morning rain has let up. What should I do? Fetch water? Chop firewood? Gather wintergreens? In the shadow of the mountains, the firewood burns, brightening my cold little grass hut. Winter will soon be over. Please, please come visit my grass hut. My heart beats faster and faster. I cannot sleep. Tomorrow will be the first day of spring. Lying on my grass pillow, dreaming about this dream world again. Lonely, fitful sleep. As I watch the children happily playing, without realizing it, my eyes fill with tears. Thinking about the people in this floating world far into the night, my sleeve is wet with tears. A thief has stolen my mat and cushion. Why did he break into my hermitage? The door is never locked. The night is ending, and I sit alone by the window. A sparse rain falls gently against the bamboo grove. The thief left it behind. The moon at the window. A poem by Wendell Berry, contemporary. It's called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be. I go and lie down where the wood drake nests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. A few poems by contemporary poet, American poet Mary Oliver. This one from White Pine. How beautiful this morning was Pasture Pond. It had lain in the dark all night, catching the rain on its broad back. All day I work with the linen of words and the pins of punctuation, and all day I hang out over a desk, grinding my teeth, staring. Then I sleep. Then I come out of the house even before the sun is up and walk back through the pine woods to Pasture Pond. Here is one from the House of Light, also Mary Oliver. The Notebook. 6 a.m. The small pond turtle lifts its head into the air like a green toe. It looks around. What it sees is the whole world swirling back from darkness, a red sun rising over the water, over the pines, and the wind lifting, and the water striders heading out, and the white lilies opening their happy bodies. The turtle doesn't have a word for any of it. The silky water or the enormous blue morning or the curious affair of its own body. On the shore, I'm so busy scribbling and crossing out, I almost miss seeing him paddle away through the wet black forest. More and more the moments come to me. How much can the right word do? Now a few of the lilies are a faint flamingo inside their white hearts, and there's still time to let the last roses of the sunrise float down into my uplifted eyes. A few more Mary Oliver poems. This one, new and selected poems. This is called Lonely White Fields. Every night, the owl with his wild monkey face calls through the black branches, and the mice freeze and the rabbits shiver in the snowy fields. And then there's the long, deep trough of silence when he stops singing and steps into the air. I don't know what death's ultimate purpose is, but I think this. Whoever dreams of holding his life in his fist, year after year into the hundreds of years, has never considered the owl. How he comes exhausted through the snow, through the icy trees, past snags and vines, wheeling out of barns and church steeples, turning this way and that way through the mesh of every obstacle, undeterred by anything, filling himself time and time again with a red and digestible joy, sickled up from the lonely white fields. And how at daybreak, as though everything had been done that must be done, the fields swell with a rosy light, the owl fades back into the branches, the snow goes on falling, flake after perfect flake. Singapore. In Singapore, in the airport, a darkness was ripped from my eyes. In the women's restroom, one compartment stood open. A woman knelt there washing something in the white bowl. Disgust argued in my stomach, and I felt in my pocket for my ticket. A poem should always have birds in it. Kingfishers say with their bold eyes and gaudy wings, rivers are pleasant and of course trees. A waterfall, or if that's not possible, a fountain rising and falling. A person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. When the woman turned, I could not answer her face. Her beauty and her embarrassment struggled together, and neither could win. She smiled and I smiled. What kind of nonsense is this? Everybody needs a job. Yes, a person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. But first we must watch her as she stares down at her labor, which is dull enough. She's washing the tops of the airport ashtrays, as big as hubcaps, with a blue rag. Her small hands turn the metal, scrubbing and rinsing. She doesn't work slowly nor quickly, but like a river. Her dark hair is like the wing of a bird. I don't doubt for a moment that she loves her life. And I want her to rise up from the crust and the slop and fly down to the river. This probably won't happen, but maybe it will. If the world were only pain and logic, who would want it? Of course it isn't. Neither do I mean anything miraculous, but only the light that can shine out of a life. I mean the way she unfolded and refolded the blue cloth. The way her smile was only for my sake. I mean the way this poem is filled with trees and birds. We will end here for today.